When I was in 4th grade, I met this kid called James. He was a little weird, quiet more than anything, but once I got to know him, he seemed like a chill dude. The thing that stood out to me the most was how good he was at voice impersonations. A little too good. In fact, I would have mistaken his voice acting for the person he was imitating if it wasn't for the fact that it came out of his mouth. However, there was one incident that made me want to stay away from this kid. Typing this out 15 years later, it still sends shivers down my spine. I still don't have an explanation for it, and quite frankly, I'd rather not have one. It was the night before Christmas break, December 12th in my school. As usual, we would go out to have snowball fights and go downhill with a sledge. You know, normal kid stuff. As I was collecting snow, I got a call from a distance. "Hey Thomas, time to go home, let's go." It sounded exactly like my mom, but when I turned around, I saw James giggling while hiding behind a mountain of snow. That was strange. I could have sworn that voice came from at least 30 feet away, but looking at James, he was definitely no farther than 6 feet. "Geez, I thought you were my mom for a sec," I said, pouting. James burst out laughing. "Got you again. You're so easy to trick sometimes." Shut up. I was a little pissed at how good his impersonations were, but then again, it was funny to troll other people with it, especially the teachers. More time passed by, and eventually the teacher actually did call us over to let us know that my mom was picking us up. Our plan was to have a sleepover before Christmas break began. My mom picked us up in her car and drove us home. We were left alone with a babysitter for the night, since she had to go work on her afternoon job plus her night shift. She was a single mother juggling 3 jobs, so it isn't necessarily easy for her. James and I were in the playroom for a while before nighttime came. Bedtime was coming up, but knowing James, he was gonna find a way to stay up and perform some of his shenanigans. Our babysitter Jackie walked in and tucked us into bed, both mattresses on the floor, before turning off the lights and shutting the door. It was silent for a good few minutes before James's intrusive thoughts got the better of him. "Thomas," he whispered, "are you up?" I turned around to face him. "Yeah, what's up?" Even though it was dark, I could sense James's devious grin. Clearly, he thought of some crazy idea. Clearing his throat, he spoke.
"Wanna play a game?"
His voice caught me off guard. He perfectly impersonated the voice of my crush at the time, Hannah. Again, I could have mistaken it for her if it wasn't for the fact that I could see James's face right in front of me. "You asshole, why would you use her voice on me like that?" I slapped his shoulder. He had his face buried in his pillow, holding his laughter. James's voice went back to normal. "Let's play Find and Listen," he proposed. For context, Find and Listen was a game James made up when we first met. I don't know if he had that idea before, but I'd rather not know. The game was that you would stand in the middle of a dark hallway and see what your eyes would start making up to scare the crap out of you. It was a really weird game, I know, but we were kids and James was, well, James, so I went along with it with my naive mind. "You should go first," said James, grinning. "I'll buy you a pack of Oreos if you do." "Fine," I replied, getting up. Tiptoeing, I peeked under the door to see if Jackie was still awake. To our amusement, all the lights to the house were turned off and I couldn't hear the TV, so I slowly creaked the door open. The coast was clear. Taking a deep breath, I stood in the middle of the hallway in silence, staring into darkness. It was silent for the first few minutes. Even James, who would usually already be laughing his ass off, was completely quiet. Besides the dark walls getting bigger and smaller as I looked around, Nothing abnormal happened at first. The first weird thing came soon after. Slight breathing was being heard from far away. It wasn't any breathing I recognized, though. Eventually, the sound went from breathing to a subtle groan, a very, very deep groan. I started feeling pressure on my chest as if someone's entire weight was slamming against it. My breath shortened, body shaking. Whatever I was feeling, I certainly didn't think that I was safe at that very moment. As time went on, my heartbeat increased by the minute until, eventually, I could feel it in my throat. "James, are you still there? I'm scared." I whimpered, my body shaking even more in discomfort. He didn't respond, but I knew he was there because I saw his silhouette still laying down on the bed, sitting crisscrossed. I then felt something brush my shoulder. Jolting, I turned around to see nothing but the other side of the dark hallway. James," I said, trying to hold the lump of tears in my throat. Again, no response. No matter where I was turning around, I could feel a massive presence behind me, a pressure that I never felt before. I closed my eyes and curled into a ball. However, the pressure only got worse. "James, can the game end now?" I asked, a tear forming in my eye. This time I did get a response, but it wasn't James's voice. It was soft, a girl's voice. It had a slight echo to it.
I thought you were having fun.
It said. "James, seriously, stop," I said a bit louder. The pressure from behind me switched to right in front of me. I could feel something right in front of me, staring at me with an intense glare. Hot breath simmered across my cheeks. It smelt bad, horrific even.
Come on, why don't we play together?
Asked the same female voice again. A gentle hand ran its fingers across my shoulder. I tensed up my whole body, holding my breath. Even though I was used to James's impersonations, this presence felt different. Paranormal. The voice then went from a gentle female voice to a deep, threatening growl.
"It's okay,"
it said. Suddenly, I began feeling lightheaded. My consciousness began leaving me. It was a strange feeling I can't yet comprehend, even after so many years. The best way I could describe it is when you start seeing stars and feeling lightheaded after getting up too fast, combined with my head getting pulled upwards. I gasped and opened my eyes, and there it was. A dark figure with piercing red eyes and sharp teeth grinning right at me, its face longer than a console table. I let out a blood-curdling scream, tears running down my face. Almost instantly, the lights to the hallway turned on and Jackie, the babysitter, ran up to me asking if I was okay in a panic. I was paralyzed, petrified. My eyes were widened, body still shaking, tears still dripping down my cheek. Next to Jackie was James, his face looking just as terrified. However, something about him felt off. His eyes were glowing a little more than usual. Not too much, but in a weird way, as if the glow was residue, slowly diminishing into nothing. Although barely noticeable, I could see it. James's glare was too familiar to me. But if that was the case, then what did I see? Why did it look so different to the James I knew? I couldn't sleep that night. I insisted that the lights in the house stayed on until my mom came to pick me up. I slept next to her that night and James was sent home early. He didn't come back after Christmas break. No one knows why James's family decided to leave without saying a single word after that. Not only did he leave the school, but the city. Strangely enough, no one has heard from him since. 15 years later, I still can't explain what happened that night. Like James's eyes glowing, his overly perfect voice impersonations, his strange personality, the eerie games that he liked to play. But one thing's for sure, I'd rather not have an answer to any of it.